What's up, guys? This is Zach with Top Deck Nation, and today we're going to be looking at a deck that recently did pretty well at regional championships, and that's actually going to be Darkrai Dragonair. So, yeah, at first glance, this deck seems really strange. I mean, you have like, this evolution line. It looks awfully, inconsistent and stuff, but, this deck is actually really good because it's able to just kind of pump this energy on board really, really quickly once you get Dragonair set up. And that's pretty much the strategy of the deck here. I mean, Darkrai is going to be doing a lot of damage. Dragonair is going to be putting a lot of energy on the board. And then, you've got some other attackers just for certain matchups as well. So I'm just going to kind of walk you guys through the deck. It's really easy to play, really easy to set up. So basically, the goal of the deck is to get a bunch of energy on the board and just use Dark Pulse. So Dark Pulse does 20 damage and then 20 more for each dark energy attached to all of your Pokemon. So if you had 5 energy on the board, it's going to be doing 100 more damage, so 120 damage total. Now, the great thing is that double dragon energy and rainbow energy, anything like that, they count as dark actually. So this is why we're going to be playing this. This is basically going to be plus 40 damage when you attach it on the board. So, when you have a bunch of these energy on the board, you're going to be doing a lot of damage. So, at the very least, you're going to be two-shotting a lot of EXs and Megas and GXs and stuff now. But, eventually the goal a couple turns in or 3 turns in or so, you should have so much energy on the board thanks to Dragonair that you should be able to just kind of one-shot anything in your path. So, the prize exchange is going to be really favorable here. You're going to be outspeeding your opponent after a couple turns, and it's just really hard to keep up with when, they have 3 or 4 energy on the board and you have like 7, 8, 9 energy. It's just insane. So, typically this kind of build, this Darkrai, Salamence, Giratina build, it usually plays something like Max Elixir. You might see a split like 4 double dragon energy and like 10 dark energy. But in this build, it's going to be a lot different. We have 4 Professor's Letter. We have a bunch of energy going on, 15 energy total. I mean, it's insane. And the reason it works is because of Dragonair. So Dragonair's attack is called Dragon's Wish. And keep in mind, it's for colorless energy, which basically means that, Darkrai probably isn't the only partner here. You can probably make it work with just about anything. And Dragon's Wish says during your next turn, you can attach any number of energy cards in your hand to your Pokemon. So keep in mind, it says energy cards. It does not specify basic energy or special energy. So by that logic, I should be able to attach as much as I want every turn. And that's going to be really good because I'm going to be able to get a lot of energy on the board. And, really the only way they can stop this attack is by playing Pokemon Ranger. So really it's just kind of win-win for you. You use Dragon's Wish, either you're going to attach a bunch of energy or they have to waste their supporter for the turn and you're still getting kind of set up. Because keep in mind, Darkrai doesn't really need much to attack here. So, I mean, that's basically the strategy of the deck, guys. I do play Giratina because of things like Mega Rayquaza, Mega Gardevoir, Vespiquen, things like that. Anything that relies really heavily on special energies or megas or something like that. And, Giratina can basically two-shot a lot of stuff. Its goal isn't really to one-shot anything. It's doing just enough damage to kind of two-shot stuff. So really good against certain matchups. And then the same way with Salamence. You may not want to use Salamence in every game. Especially one against, especially in games that, your opponent doesn't really play Pokemon EXs or anything, but Beastly Fang is definitely worth including Salamence in here, in my opinion. When you can attach unlimited energy, you can just bring down Salamence out of nowhere, attach a double dragon and a dark energy, and then just kind of go to town on your opponent. Beastly Fang, it does 10 damage, and then 50 more for each of your opponent's Pokemon EX. So, a lot of these EX heavy decks like Yveltal, Mega Rayquaza, Mega Gardevoir, they play a ton of EXs and they leave them on the bench. So you're doing a lot of damage and you're probably going to come out of nowhere and just kind of surprise them and one-shot them as well. So, I mean, later in the game, this is really good, especially because they can't really respond to that. They either knock out Salamence in one hit or they get knocked out themselves. So that's basically it. The Pokemon line is pretty straightforward. We have to play 3 Darkrai, get enough on board. Hoopa lets us get really set up really quickly. And then, of course, Shaymin. Luckily, Shaymin has dropped a little bit. I think it's like $35-40, but hopefully over the next few months it'll get cheaper for players as well. So as far as our trainers go, we have a pretty standard line of supporters here. We've got 4 Professor Sycamore just because we want to draw through as much energy as possible and other cards and stuff. We want to draw into that. 3N, 3N has become pretty standard. It used to be kind of like 2 and a couple of trainers mill, but I think people realize that N is just such a good card. It's really important to have late game. It's just good disruption, but shuffle and draw in 6 early game is just really strong. Too good not to play. 2 Lysandre just to kind of bring up things. You may have just enough energy to knock out something like Shaymin or something damaged, but not enough to knock out like a fully powered up like Pokemon EX. So being able to Lysandre it up just to get cheap knockouts is really good. And then finally Hex Maniac, because you might go against something that is just really heavily reliant on abilities, and we really need to counter those. So things like Greninja or pretty much anything, Volcanion especially. Otherwise they might outspeed you. It's hard to say. So it's really going to help you there. 4 Verse Seeker, because it's just a way to kind of reuse your supporters. So really good, really consistency booster right there. 4 Ultra Ball, just because we need to really search out everything. If I had any room in the deck, I'd probably add at least 1 Level Ball, just because it's really important here to get Dragonair out. Like I said, we're not relying so much on single energy attachments or max elixirs. It's just extremely crucial to get that Dragonair out. So that's why we're going to be playing 4 Ultra Ball, of course. 1 Super Rod, just because a lot of times you may go through the deck really quickly. You may have to discard a lot of stuff like your dark energies, or you might prize a Dragonair or a Dragonite or something. And, probably one of the MVPs of this deck is going to be Professor's Letter, and we're actually going to max it out and play 4. So this is kind of taking a similar approach to the deck that did pretty well at regionals. I want to say it got like top 16 or something, maybe even top 8. I think this was at Sheffield regionals in Europe, I believe. But Professor's Letter is just kind of ridiculous in this deck because, assuming you get Dragonair's attack off, next turn, if I'm just kind of burning through my deck with Shaymins and Professor Sycamores, each of these counts as 2 energy, essentially. I can search them out, attach them right away, so extremely powerful after you use Dragonair's attack. And then lastly, just a few tool cards and such here. We have Fighting Fury Belt. This is really going to enable Giratina to get those 2 shots against Megas, so really important. And it's also going to let you just kind of have a favorable price exchange. If they're hitting you for like 120, they're not really knocking you out. Even if they hit you for like 180, like the Mega Gardevoir decks, they're so fast that they can just kind of discard 7 of their Pokemon and then just kind of knock you out. And this is basically going to prevent that from happening. Float Stone is just because we need to retreat out into Dragonair as quickly as possible. And then the same logic basically applies with Escape Rope as well. Just kind of trying to wrap things up here. Parallel City is going to be our choice of stadium because, recently people just aren't playing it anymore. It's really come down to people playing maybe 1, and then they play like Delinquent or something to kind of counter their own Parallel City or your opponent's Parallel City. But recently a lot of Skyfield decks have just kind of emerged in standard, and I think it's really important that Parallel City is just there is a nice counter, a nice check, because Mega Gardevoir, Mega Rayquaza, these decks are just getting stronger and stronger, and people aren't really playing it, so I'm not really sure why. But that pretty much wraps it up here, guys. And then like I said, we're playing, 15 energy because we have to draw into it. We have to attach, get our attackers set up. So now I want to just go ahead and jump into a game I recently played on PTCGO. I think you guys will like it. It's really interesting game. Dragonair just kind of did a lot of work. So let's go ahead and jump into that and show you how the deck works. Alright guys, looks like we are just getting set up here. Looks like I did mulligan, so my opponent is going to get an extra card if they so choose. And there we go. Looks like we're going to start off with Darkrai. Start isn't terrible, although it looks like we're going to have to discard, Dragonair and double Dragon energies. So, it looks like we're going to have to attach a Dark Energy, and we are going against Mega Gardevoir, so Parallel City is actually going to help us a lot, but usually those decks kind of play like 3 or 4 Skyfield, so I wouldn't be surprised if they did replace it. And I go ahead and put out Dratini, so it's really good that we have Dratini, so next turn we can hopefully get Dragonair. It's really going to be the priority if we can grab like an Ultra Ball or something. And okay, here we go. So Gardevoir gets a Spirit Link, it gets an energy, so it's pretty much good to go for next turn. And there goes the Skyfield, like I said. So Parallel City isn't something you want to play on your first turn necessarily against like a Skyfield deck. Really you want to wait until You really want to wait until they actually put down Skyfield and have like a massive bench, like 7 or 8 Pokemon, because otherwise, they'll just kind of replace it, and Gardevoir will just do a lot of damage, once it's set up here. So I'm in decent shape here. I don't want to have to get rid of Verseeker, but I mean, everything is pretty much kind of falling into place. And as you can see, Mega Gardevoir, it had a pretty big turnout at St. Louis Regionals this past weekend. One of my friends actually ended up getting top 32. I think he got like 25th or something overall. But, Mega Gardevoir was a really good play in St. Louis because of all the dark decks and stuff. And, he's pretty much set up here. He doesn't really need to do anything else. Now, he did end me, so he did end me into the Energy and the Ultra Ball. So, looks like I am going to be getting Dragonair out and pulling off this attack. And I've also got a Verseeker, a Dratini, a Shaymin. So I've got a lot of stuff to get set up with here. So this is going to be a really explosive turn for me. So I need to hurry up and get Giratina out. I know that Salamence is weak to fairies, but keep in mind that Salamence can essentially one-shot Gardevoir as long as they have 4... as long as they have 4 EXs on the bench. And I think, pretty much I think he will every turn here. So I think we're pretty safe to assume I'm going to be able to one-shot Gardevoir. Assuming it doesn't knock out my Salamence or Lysandre up or something. So Hoopa let me get Darkrai and Salamence. Might have been a good idea to get another Shaymin or something, but I didn't really have to. I'd rather just kind of save it because I'm pretty much set up already. So I'll use Dragon's Wish, and like you can see, it doesn't really have an effect right away, but next turn I'll have unlimited energy attachments unless they can play like a Pokemon Ranger or something. And I seriously don't think that Mega Gardevoir decks even play Pokemon Ranger because there's not really a reason why. I mean, I guess if you're afraid of like Regice or Glaceon or something, but for the most part, you can just kind of escape rope around it and bring it up that way. So they might play a Hex Maniac or something, but I seriously doubt they're playing like a Pokemon Ranger. And yeah, it looks like he's going to Ultra Ball for another Mega Gardevoir here. And a Sycamore. So I mean, he is on, he's on fire here. He's got everything he needs. He's got Gardevoir. Gardevoir's probably going to get powered up here. It just needs an energy. So between, playing so many energy and Mega Turbo and stuff, I'm sure he should get it set up. And yeah, Dragonair, this is probably like the mortal enemy of this like Darkrai Dragonair deck, just because it's a fairy deck. It's, Darkrai is dark, obviously, so Mega Gardevoir is resistant. The dragon types are weak to Fury, so they all get one-shotted. So, we're going to have to play our cards right here. We're going to have to be really careful and probably just really aggressive to keep up because it already took a knockout. It's already set up here. So, go ahead and evolve to another Dragonair. And, something I didn't explain when I actually did the deck profile a few minutes ago was that you actually play one copy of Dragonite in here, at least I do, because Dragonite's a non-EX attacker. Just attach a double dragon. It does a clean 130 damage, so it's enough to knock out like Baby Volcanion, Baby Eviltal, stuff like that. And you can see here, like, I've already attached like so many energy here. I've attached a Dark, a double dragon. Let's go ahead and attach, 3 more Dark. And I'll probably just play in because it's going to hurt my opponent, and I'm looking for more energy, which it looks like I did whiff on, unfortunately. Maybe Sycamore would have been the better play just to get more energy. But at this point, I'm counting the board. I'm doing enough damage, so I'm going to go ahead and attack, and I'm doing 360 damage, and that's going to be knocking out Gardevoir. Now, keep in mind, I do play a Super Rod, so Super Rod will be able to get back Salamence if need be, assuming it's not prized, of course. Now, this situation's pretty tricky because I was aggressive. It did work, but as you can see, Mega Gardevoir got an energy. It got a Mega Turbo. So at this point, he's going to be able to respond back and hit me for weakness and get a knockout. Now, back to what I was saying about Dragonite, it's not necessary if you think that, you don't care so much about the prize exchange, you just want to get the deck working. You might consider, another supporter like Delinquent to kind of balance that Parallel City out. More energy, Trainer's Mail, stuff like that. But, some other options might even be the other Dragonites from Roaring Skies. One of them has that Delta Plus trait, so you can actually take an extra prize, but it takes like 5 energy to power up. And then the other one, I think actually when you play it down, you can heal one of your Pokemon off completely. So that might be an option as well, considering, you know, your problem isn't being aggressive, it's being knocked out. So that might be an option as well. I don't know. But, you know, unfortunately, Dragonair's attack only lasts that one turn. So if I wanted to use Dragon's Wish again, I would actually have to retreat out Darkrai and kind of waste my attack on doing it again. But as you can see here, I'm already pretty much set up here. I've got, let's see, I've got like 5 energy on the board. I'm about to attach to Giratina. And Giratina does have that ability that says it can't be touched by Megas. So if my opponent does not play something like a Hex Maniac, yeah, they're going to be in a lot of trouble because they won't be able to actually do anything about it. Now, I do have a Float Stone on Giratina, not a Fighting Fury Belt, so technically it's actually going to take like 3 hits just to knock it out. But at the same time, you know, I could always hit with Giratina and then finish it off with something else. So, yeah, so I'm doing 100 damage, not quite enough to hit that 2-shot mark of 110. My opponent does have a pretty massive hand, so I'm just curious if they can just Lysandre something up and get a knockout. But, you know, keep in mind if they choose to do that, they'd be end down to 1, and that would be very hard to come back from. So they're going to end themselves to 3, which is actually really just going to hurt them. I got a decent hand off of that end to 4, but he's going to Despair Ray, and it's not going to do anything because I can't be affected by Megas. So, all right, so we're in decent shape here. I think I'm just going to attach the Fighting Fury Belt to another Darkrai just in case. And I think I'm just going to go for another in. You know, I don't want to discard anything. You know, maybe I should have gone for the Sycamore, but I'm pretty sure my my deck is actually really thin. I think I've got like 5 or 6 cards left in the deck. It's really hard to see when I'm commentating because the screen's really small, but I think I'm in really good shape here. You know, Darkrai is doing just enough. I was kind of hesitant to make sure I was doing enough damage, but I'm doing the perfect amount. It's going to be knocking out that Mega Gardevoir. And now the tables have kind of turned here. What originally was Mega Gardevoir being really aggressive and knocking out stuff really quickly and using Mega Turbos, you know, it's kind of stuck here now. You know, what's he really going to do? He actually has to waste a turn Mega Evolving, and I've got Lysandre in my hand, which means I'm going to Lysandre up Shaymin, attach an energy just because I can, and go ahead and get a knockout here. It's going to be doing 160, which is more than enough, and that's going to be taking a knockout and getting the win. So Darkrai Dragonair, really fun deck. It's really interesting to see how Sun and Moon has affected the metagame, especially in Standard. Lots of new decks emerging, Decidueye, Lapras, stuff like that. But overall, just really fun, really easy to get set up. You know, not very expensive aside from the Shaymins and stuff. So be sure to subscribe, guys. You know, your support is greatly appreciated. I'll try to get more videos out this month. Hopefully a few more this week, actually. Like us on Facebook at Top Deck Nation. Check out our website, topdecknation.com. We're going to be relaunching really soon. But let me know in the comments what you guys think of the deck, any changes you would make. Yeah, like I said. So in the meantime, this has been Zach with Top Deck Nation. I'll catch you guys in the next video, and thanks for watching.